Jason, welcome back to the W2 Prison Break Show, man.
Thanks, Brian. Good to be back.
Yes, and for those of you who don't know Jason, he was on episode number 55 of the W2 Prison Break Show. So it's been a bit. We got him back on, and the reason I brought Jason back on the show is as it relates to the SEO world, there are some really critical and important updates that you guys need to know about that he's going to share with us today. So we're going to get right into the updates. And the first one is the Google update. So, Jason, take it away. School us.
Okay, we'll do. So on March 7th, Google released its latest update. It does about 2 to 3 of these core updates a year. And this one did target a lot of AI type of content, but maybe not in the way that people think. There are sites that are losing 30, 50, 70% of traffic overnight. The update went into effect, and then if you go on Google Search Console, Google Analytics, you're seeing that content or that traffic drop off. Now, the reason that's behind this update is they want to get away from spammy or clickbaity type of content. So people were creating AI stuff at scale, and they wanted to have these page titles that stood out and got people to click on it. So an example in my industry would be SEO is dead in 2024, and then everybody clicks on it because they want to know what's replacing it. So they were doing that in all these different industries, creating content, getting people to visit their site. And Google said, enough of this. You need to provide valuable content, not just things that are going to get people to click on your link. So they started pulling back and even de-indexing some of the pages that were written, which is a huge deal because they normally don't go that far, but they would just pull these pages right off of your website. So the key when it comes to AI content, and we can talk a little bit more about this as we go,
Mhm.
is you need to make sure it's relevant to the user. What are you selling? What are you offering? What are the topic of this blog? And answer the question fully. If you just have, you tell ChatGPT one sentence, write me 1,000 words on, why somebody wears a certain type of watch, it's just going to spit out a lot of garbage. You need to instruct it fully on the different pieces you want it to talk about, the structure of the post, and then you have to go in as the owner and add some of your content and some of your expertise to make it more valuable.
So, what I'm hearing from you then is because of AI, which we will talk about, a lot of people have become lazy and complacent and not willing to, you still have to tweak it. And as a result, now 30, you said 30%, they lost their site traffic. Was that for people, did that impact people who weren't doing the spammy stuff as well? Or just the people who were?
It was more just the spam kind of reproducible AI content, but there
Uh,
were business owners that did see that downturn as well. And the scary thing is there's people that don't even look at their traffic metrics.
mm,
And then when I hop on the phone call with them, they go, oh, well, I thought we were at 15,000 visitors a month, 20,000, and now we're at three or less.
yeah.
So it's so important to be looking at Google Search Console first. Google Analytics has gotten a little cumbersome, I'll say, over the last 6 months or so, but know your numbers. Understand who's coming to your website, how often, and be aware of any major drops because you might be doing business as usual and your website would not. And that can be very detrimental to long-term planning.
How often do you instruct your clients to do that? Well, let me backtrack. First of all, let's define for the listeners who you help. Who are your clients? And then answer the second question, please.
Absolutely. So we specialize in e-commerce SEO, so specifically brands that are 6, 7, 8 figures in the lifestyle space. But if you're an e-commerce company at all and you use Shopify, that's our expertise.
Mhm.
And I'm sure there's a lot of local service people listening. We do have a handful of those clients that find us and say, we want you to help run our, HVAC or plumbing company as well. But mainly we're in the e-com space. And then as for how often you check, I personally tell people to check daily. I mean, you can open up your Shopify database or dashboard and see the traffic that's come in over the last 7 days. But going to Search Console is going to give you a lot more information in terms of, are you having issues indexing your pages? Are there certain blog posts that are now getting more traffic than others? What keywords are you actually showing up for? these are the things we can make marketing decisions and business decisions based off of. So it only takes, 5 minutes a day to quickly scan through it, and it can provide a lot of useful information.
Okay, got it. So just like brushing your teeth, just make it part of your morning routine and just check your traffic and don't sleep on it. Okay, good tip. Now, the second piece, you and I were talking a little bit offline. You may have to drop down a few grade levels here. We know that you're talking Google's language. So, what's the next thing that we should be aware of that your client should be aware of?
The biggest thing is Google's SGE. So that stands for Search Generative Experience. And so what they're going to try to do through their system and some AI, and it's already been tested here and there, so you may have seen this already as you're searching, is you're going to have your paid stuff at the top, and then you're going to have this generative AI box that offers suggestions to whatever you may be searching for. So if you're searching for women's clothing or things in women's fashion or a supplement, you're going to see these images where they link you to the collection page or the product page of certain websites. And your goal now is going to be to use AI to help get you in those boxes because that's going to be part of the organic search going forward. And that officially releases to everybody, I believe it's May 10th, or maybe it's May 17th. And that will change how search is done going forward, and people will adapt. And those who adapt quicker and put more investment in that now will see the longer term rewards than those who sit back and just coast on whatever they've been doing previously.
Okay, so let's talk about both scenarios. So the people who get ahead of it, which I'm sure you're telling all of your clients this, what should they be doing?
So the biggest thing is you need to have your name in the internet sphere as much as possible. And this is done through a lot of SEO tactics. One of them is building backlink authority. That's going to be the distinguishing feature moving forward because everyone sells the same products. Everybody can mass produce AI blog content. So the only things that are going to get you to stand out are your backlink authority. So Google sees that you might have a domain authority of 35 and your competitor is only at a 22. You're going to tend to outrank them and outrank them in this AI SGE that we're talking through.
Mhm.
But also, these large language models, which is what ChatGPT and Gemini are built on, they're starting to scour the internet and they're looking for, the same way that in a crowd of people, the group that's talking the most kind of gets the most attention.
Yeah.
If your name is showing up the most in press releases, online conversations, partnership agreements, that's going to show this AI system that you are the authority in your space. And so it's going to be shifting how SEO is done a little bit, but just adding on another layer of how do we get that brand awareness shared as far and wide as possible so that these large language models pick up on it.
Got it. And not easy to do to get backlinks, especially trying to go at it your own. Something that you do for your clients big time. Maybe share a tip or two or a strategy that of a lot of people don't even know what that is. I do of how to get that and what that does for you.
Sure. So a backlink is anytime another website links to yours. It's very confusing to people because they think anytime a link comes to your site, even if it's on your own page, that's a backlink. So that would be called an internal link if it's from one of your pages to another. So I just want to say that for clarification purposes.
Okay.
But then getting backlinks is a tedious process. There are tools you can use to do manual outreach and scrape your competitors' backlinks and then do the outreach to them. But the one that I've found the most helpful is using a site called Quoted or Haro and pitching these reporters that are connected to news outlets or journalists that will post relevant information for your site. So, for example, Mother's Day is coming up here in just over a month. And there's a lot of resources out there where people are looking for Mother's Day information, guides for what to get mom for a gift. And I'm in the women's fashion industry for a lot of these clients. So it's easy for me to say, I have this collection of dresses or these jewelry, handbags, whatever it might be, or a blog post I wrote on Mother's Day and the gifts that you should be thinking of for one of my clients.
Hmm.
So I forward that on to these reporters. They grab the information and then they link to my client's website. So this is all completely free. It's just understanding where do you go, how do you pitch these reporters, and what information do you give them? And this could be a very worthwhile process for you to build your domain authority.
Got it. Because, okay, so you gave an example, thank you, with women's fashion and the Mother's Day scenario. I was going to ask you to do that. You already did it. How many backlinks should I be looking to receive as a, if I'm in a lifestyle brand before I start seeing, rankings go up?
Great question. It and I hate to do the caveat of, well, it depends,
Yeah, sure.
but there are different focuses based on whenever I start with a client, there's the easy wins where we can rank something in a collection maybe within the first month, and
Hmm.
maybe they only need 2 or 3 links. But then there's times where they say, Jason, I have to be ranked for this collection, and this is our best product, or this is a thing we want to be known for. And I'll sit there and say, the keyword difficulty on that is a 42. That might take 4 to 5 months of me consistently building 4 to 5 links to get you to number one.
Yeah.
But then once you're there, you're aware that that's 15,000 people that are searching that term, and you could get a large chunk of that. That could be pretty life-changing to your business. So it does depend, but we try to get you early wins up front as we build more towards the more difficult terms down the line.
Got it. Okay. Well, let's stay on this topic a little bit because we're talking about your clients and what you do for them. Because this is, and you helped me a while back with a real estate site. And like, guys, this stuff is not easy. I mean, you need help with this stuff, and it still confuses me. And I've known Jason for a long time. What, do you have maybe a client story that you could kind of walk us through? Like, hey, they were at this point with their traffic, and then we did all this stuff with the, to fix it up for them, and now they're here, and they're monetizing this. Like, can you walk us through an example?
Yep. So there was a luxury watch company that I was working with that had some organic traffic, but when we did the research into understanding where it was coming from,
Hmm.
most of it was branded. And that's another thing I want to say is I had somebody reach out to me and say, well, Jason, I Googled my business name and I showed up number one, so I don't need SEO. And that couldn't be further from the truth because that's a direct brand name search. So if I put
Wow.
in Jason Davis marketing, my website's going to come up. That doesn't mean I'm number one for my website. I need to be looking for the terms of the services that I do or the products that I sell. So if somebody's listening and they say, I sell supplements, well, type in the name of the supplement, not your brand, and see where you show up. And if you can't find yourself, you need help with SEO.
Got it.
So back to your question is there was a brand similar to this, a very well-known brand. They were actually on a lot of different TV shows and in magazines, so they had a lot of publicity, and they were getting thousands of people to find them by their brand name. So they thought, I don't need SEO, we're good, until I showed them what was behind the numbers. And it turns out the 20,000 people that were finding them, about 15,000 of them were branded searches. So what we did is we took that 20 and we got it up to, I think at latest check, 72,000 um, per every 2 or 3 months. So it was a pretty significant jump from where they were previously. It added about 50,000 people over a 3 month span. And these are all keyword collection focus for the different types of watches that they have, the different types of handbags. And that made a monumental difference in the business. And we're still working together to this day because they've seen the continued growth and they go, we don't know what you're doing, but we see that it's working and we just want to keep the traffic and the revenue coming in.
Wow, what a great story. Were they doing any type of paid advertisement, or as you said, was it just branded?
No, it was so they thought they had good SEO. So they said, we're just going to focus on running a bunch of Facebook ads in hopes that that's going to get more people to buy. And their Facebook ads were doing okay. But when you combine that with a solid SEO strategy, it actually helps because you can then retarget people that have visited your website with the ad to help close the deal. And most people don't do that. They just run regular ads to whatever target customer that they
Yeah.
think that they're targeting. And then some of them just run off a brand name, which is such a missed opportunity.
Wow. Okay, so I'm sure there was a backlink strategy in there. You essentially more than tripled their traffic
Yes.
in a couple 3 months. Are you at liberty to say what that equated to in dollars for them in revenue?
Yeah, so that was well north of 500,000. They were also selling more expensive watches than maybe you would see on a normal store.
Sure.
But we're continuing to see that revenue come in pretty consistently.
It,
So well worth my cost for the service.
and then some. Was there a multiple of like recent sales in terms of relative to the traffic, or was it just 500,000 and you don't like, do you know what that looked like?
I don't know offhand,
Sure.
but you're going to see it pretty much consistently grow in terms of, if we're at this number with 20K, then we know that if we tripled that, we should be at that number, and we did exceed that. And that tends to happen when you start reaching, 30, 40, 50,000 visitors to the website. So I would encourage people, again, know your numbers, like
Mm.
what is the conversion rate on your website, and then what is your average order? Because if you know how much people are spending and what the conversion rate is, then when I come in and say, I can add 30,000 more people to your website, you know that that's going to lead to 15, 20, $30,000 extra a month. And then when you see it, it makes SEO a no-brainer.
Yeah, 100%. While we're on, I want to ask you a question. You've talked to a lot of business owners and probably of all different levels of income. How many owners don't know those numbers when you talk to them, or don't have a clear picture?
I would say it's about 50%. It's pretty high
Hmm.
where, they know what they might know where to go, or they might, oh, I have to talk to my associate, assistant, whoever. And then there's some that just go, Jason, I have no idea. We've never done SEO, so it's probably low. Or the guy who says, well, I rank number one for my name, so I must be good. I hear that a lot, but there's 50% of people that know the numbers. But the scary thing that I see is it's only the people that know the numbers that are making a million plus. And everybody wants to get to that number.
Hmm.
And I think that's a reason why they're at that place is because they knew their numbers when they were only doing 200,000 or 100,000 so that they could track how to get to 1 million, 2 million, 3 million a year. And so if you are in that spot where you're not there and you want to be, I would say start putting into practice some of these routines, these, daily brushing your teeth habits that you know your numbers, you're tracking the conversions, you're testing things out to see what works so that you can scale to that, whatever that number is for you.
Yeah. Okay, good. The reason I ask you that question is because I've seen it too when I go in and look at helping people with their sales departments and other parts of their business that are doing quite well. Some are doing
Mhm.
50, 60, 70, 80 grand a month and they don't know their metrics. So I want the listeners to understand that there's hope, right? There are people are doing it that are just kind of not necessarily winging it, but they don't have it all figured out.
Right.
Jason said something very critical, which is getting from 0 to 1 million is pretty much the same amount of effort, right? It's
Mhm.
getting from 1 to 3 million and then 3 to 10 that involves a whole nother level
Yes.
of effort and systems and processes and working with people like Jason. Okay, so I'm glad we talked about that. Chat GPT, AI, you teased a little bit of that. That's the next thing on the topic list.
Awesome. Excited to talk through this. This is where I'm spending a lot of my time now
Mhm.
in terms of, especially in ChatGPT, using what's called these custom GPTs, where if you have a repeatable task that you always do these types of write-ups or this type of blog or this type of keyword research, you can build a GPT that will do it for you, and then you just plug in the information each time so that you don't have to go in and rewrite the whole prompt and get it to say and do the things you want. It's just set up to write this collection write up or give me this product description based on this keyword or URL. So for me, that allows me to get a lot more done in shorter time because I'm not having to waste my time building out these prompts over and over or finding a different tool
Mhm.
because I've already built one for me and my team that works. So I'm continuing to explore that and hoping to put some of my own GPTs out here in the very near future with the specific tasks that I use so that if you're following me and you find what I say interesting and you want to speed up some of your processes, you're able to do that on my behalf.
All right. So the two questions I have for you is number one, what is GPT even mean? Is that a thing?
It is a thing. It's called generative pre-trained transformer. It's a mouthful.
Wow. I'm not even going to ask you to explain that, but now we all know. Funny story. I was talking to my wife last night and she said, mind your P's and Q's. And I'm like, what does that even mean, P's and Q's? And we found out that it's something from the bar industry, pints and quarts.
Oh, would have
Yeah.
never thought
So
that.
me neither. So, anyways, now we know what GPT means and P's and Q's. So everyone, you're welcome. The next piece is how do I build the, can you explain to us, you may have to show us what you can't do, but how do you build, how do you go into chat GPT and build a custom GPT, like you said, so that you don't have to do it again over and over?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Is if you're first, I'd say if you're finding yourself doing the same thing for analyzing websites, building a blog, you need to start with that prompt. What are you asking it to do? And when you've done that, then you're able to take it and save that prompt and turn it into one of these custom GPTs. As I'm sure you can search that in the same way the plugin store used to be a thing,
Mhm.
where you could go in and find whatever plugin you needed. They're doing away with that if they haven't already, and everything will be GPT focused. So you can save your prompt, you can give it a name, you can link to your website so it actually gives you a backlink from ChatGPT, which is cool. And then you can add all sorts of other information, whatever you want, whether it just ends and says, thank you for using this.
Yeah.
I've seen some people that, for a free strategy session on email marketing or SEO, and they put their link there so that if somebody came across GPT that I used, it would go to my, kind of landing page to sell them on my service. So you could do that. There's a lot of different options. So I would say try a few and see what works. And let's see what happens in the next 18 to 24 months with this because it has been likened to the App Store when that first came out and how you're going to rank for different terms. And is there SEO for the GPTs? Like it's all still so new,
Yeah.
but something that could be very beneficial down the road.
Okay. Huge time saving tip, the custom GPT. And I would assume that you would have to have the paid version to do that.
Yes,
Okay. Which is still 20 bucks a month. And guys,
worth
you're
it.
paying that to get Netflix. So and Netflix doesn't make you any money the last time I checked. So
Exactly.
invest the $20. Okay. Anything else on AI that you wanted that you felt it was important to go over?
The only thing I would say is just start using it if you haven't.
Mhm.
It's not this monster that some people have created it to be. It can do anything for you if you prompt it well and talk to it as if you would another human being. If you hired an assistant to, rewrite an email for you or to create a press release, don't just say, go write a press release. It's not going to know what to do. Give it specific instructions. I need it to include this. I want it to be this long. It needs to have this content and include the content. Because if you were to share that with me, I would have no idea what your goal was unless you fleshed it out with me. So that would be the key that I think people miss is they don't give it enough information to get a good response back.
Got it. How about giving it an example of something that works really well or that you've seen, maybe like an email example that converted well or a landing page or something like that, and putting it in your own words. Do you have any thoughts on that?
That's actually what I do. So I find emails that help me or I convert me for whatever is being sold. And then I say, you're going to take this custom email template and you're going to make it for me. And I'm, selling SEO services or whatever,
Yeah.
and give it specifically, I need to talk about my SEO course or I need to talk about, and I go very in depth about what it is. It will rewrite it as best as it can. Because if it's a thing to sell me email marketing and I'm trying to push SEO coaching,
Mhm.
it's not going to flow as well, but then I can go back in and say, oh, it actually should say this. I want to include that, but it's going to give you that structure and those like call to actions, closing lines way better than I would come up with on my own.
Right. And then you still tweak it after that on your own,
Right.
right? You humanize it a little bit more. So time
Yes.
saver and then you humanize it. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Good stuff there. any additional, you work with a lot of clients, again, lifestyle brands, is you're helping them mainly Shopify, people who have Shopify store, you help other industries as well that come to you. Any other client stories that you feel are relevant to this conversation as it relates to anything that we talked about already?
There's one other testimonial of, there's actually a company on Shark Tank that we were working with, and they were in a similar spot. They they grew so quickly and they just started outsourcing a whole lot of stuff,
Hmm.
and it wasn't doing what they thought they were doing. So they were spending a lot of money and not getting a return back. So be very cautious when you do that without knowing who it's getting outsourced to, because you might be paying and they like the cost because it was only a few $100 a month. And while my prices are higher, spending $500 a month for 6 to 12 months and getting no return is still as bad as paying a few $1,000s a month, but you actually see a return in the first few months of the service. And so we were able to take them from, I think it was 10,000 visitors or less, maybe eight, to about 35,000 in a handful of months. And that was just traffic revenue. That was at least over 100,000, maybe 150 the last time I checked. So very helpful for them. And again, another one in the kind of like fashion
Yeah.
women's space. And it just goes down to know your numbers, understand what you're paying for, and the cheapest option is not always the best.
100% agree. So other than the traffic, 10 to 30, and you gave the 20,000 to 70,000, are you helping them with anything else as it relates to their website? Like, are you helping them with the landing pages, like helping them convert? Like, what else are you doing to make those visitors turn into buyers?
One of the first things we do is we look at the homepage and
Yep.
we optimize that for conversions, because at times you get to the page, you don't know what they're selling. There's no call to actions to take them anywhere. You're not highlighting your best sellers or the top collections that you want to go after. So we start there, and then we look at the product pages to make sure that they're given enough information. So once somebody comes to the website, they understand what's going on with the shipping, the return policies, the different sizing for some of these options, depending on what we're selling. And then we look at the checkout process. If there's added fees that they're not aware of, if there's too many steps, we want to streamline that as much as possible, because we don't just want to increase your traffic. We want to increase the conversions of those that are already there. And even a 0.5%, if you're bringing in 20,000 people per month on your own and you're at 2% and I make it 2.5%, that's a large increase in revenue right there. And I haven't even brought in the extra 20, 30,000 people per month. So we can really start to see things snowball if done correctly.
Yeah. All right. I'm glad I asked that because it's not just about SEO. You're optimizing for conversions as well, getting people more money in their bank account. Awesome. Before I ask you my last question, which is I want to know what else you're working on, because you're obviously working on some new stuff since the last time we spoke.
Mhm.
Where do we go to learn more about what your services are?
Yeah, so you can head to any of my social channels, Jason, the SEO guy on TikTok, X, LinkedIn, Instagram, and then also MacariosMarketing.com will have info on what we do. And there should be a landing page link on any of my social profiles to learn more about how we help your specific brand and what that means to partner with us moving forward.
Okay, we'll leave all that in the show notes, guys, so that you'll be able to click that when you quit driving or whatever you're doing. So, what do you got going on? Any cool stuff that you're working on right now?
Two cool projects besides my normal client work. So the first one is partnering up with actually a former client who's in, I'll just keep it general because we can't really share anything about the
Mhm.
specific name, but it's in the sportswear industry and he's launching a brand. And so I'm coming alongside him and we're kind of splitting it. And I'm doing the SEO work for that, which is really cool. I've always wanted to be part of a new brand launch, and we've done all the keyword research, and there's a ton of opportunity very quickly to see a really good return. So I'm super excited about that.
Nice.
The second thing is, as our team continues to grow, we're seeing opportunities to help other businesses and even other agencies like myself to take on or white label work. So what I'm doing is spending time training a team that can help outsource other SEO work to other businesses, and you know that it's done well. It's my strategies shared with them and then duplicated to your clients. So could be a huge opportunity for a lot of people who, maybe they run ads and they're looking for somebody to do the SEO. We can come alongside you and do that. Same with people focused on email marketing. We can come alongside you and help you grow there. Or you're just an agency that's tapped out on space, but you still want to help service some of the clients that come to you. We're able to step in and take my proven strategies and share that with your team and get them the same amazing results that we've gotten for so many others.
Yeah. Awesome. I love the sports brand thing. I'm excited to learn about that when that becomes, and your partnerships are good, guys. All right. Jason's got a skill, his partner's got a skill, they're combining it and they both know what they're doing and there's particular areas, right? And then your agency, I mean, this is becoming more and more popular where, people get maxed out, right? Solopreneurs, they're a one woman or one man show and you either got to hire a bunch of people or you got to outsource it. And I think a
Mhm.
lot of the times the outsourcing makes a lot of sense because then you don't have to manage teams. It's just like,
Yeah,
here you go do this thing for me and I'll pay you for it, right?
exactly. Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be that extra lending hand where possible, even if it's just for, one-off projects or you want somebody to be your, SEO partner. That's exactly why I'm building something like this.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, well, we learned a bunch here in the half hour or so that you've been on, and we're gonna have to have you back on because I know there'll be more updates coming up. The
Always.
internet is ever changing, and we'll need the next Chat GPT update. And if you learned anything today, guys, you learned what GPT and P's and Q's mean. So.
There you go.
Thanks, Jason. Good having you on. Good seeing you. Everyone, get in touch with Jason if you got a lifestyle brand and you want to increase your SEO and stop paying for paid ads. Then don't forget to have a great day.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian.
You got it, bud.